It's Friday, January 12th, 2024. Welcome to episode, I believe, 877, which I realized the other day.
Yeah, 800?
877.
And 77?
I think that's
Jesus.
right. Hold on, I meant to actually double check by hitting download. I don't keep any of this stuff on this machine. I keep it on my... Yeah, this is 877.
That's weird.
Yeah, we are in the ballpark of 1,000 shows. Legitimately 1,000 shows. I mean, we're over that with everything else, but in terms of the main show...
It's weird.
We are coming up. Well, it's been.
I don't even know if I like that.
I tend to agree. I don't know whether that has any. I don't know if that has a positive meaning, but it is what it is. So, I will start off.
You know what I mean? It just means that we're still here.
Yes, it does.
I mean, that's about it. I mean,
this is a. I will say this in terms of rarity. A show where the same two co-hosts have been doing it for this long, for this many episodes, that does tend to be somewhat rare. So
really? Is it that weird that people kind of fall apart?
Yeah, a lot of shows don't last this long. They don't. Now, granted, something that is
but a lot of shows are probably about something. That's probably what it is.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to say it never happens. It's not that rare. But it's unusual for shows to run for a long time with the same two people doing the whole thing. I mean, even some of the bigger shows have rotated people in and out. A lot of the ones where it's a solo personality do, like the Mark Maron thing, where he's the anchor of the whole thing. So of course it's always easier for somebody to keep it going themselves because they have no one to answer to but themselves, unless of course they do something tremendously stupid. But other than that, they don't have to worry about the person who's doing it with them getting tired of it or deciding that they don't like that person anymore. That's what I mean about having the same two people or multiple hosts that run the whole time is unusual. Maybe rare was the wrong word, but it's unusual, I would say. Single ones, yeah, of course. Like Joe Rogan, same thing. It's like he's the whole show because he's the personality. So those last longer because, again... you're showing up for the one person. Two or more person dynamics. I'm not going to say there aren't any, but they're generally either people who have a lot of experience doing like radio and broadcast. That tends to be at our TV, where they're have training and they have an expertise in the background, or it tends to be single person things. So, not unheard of, but to do this many consistent shows for a while, yeah.
It's weird. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, I mean, although now that I say that, it's also the thing where if a show lasts more than 50 episodes, it tends to go longer, and but a lot of them don't even last 50 episodes. I mean, they burn out.
We're out of the bubble here, aren't we?
Way out. I mean, the other thing is we never were aiming to make money from it. That probably helps because the ebb and flow of podcast revenue probably puts strain on certain people if they are entirely reliant on it.
Well, yeah, the second you monetize something, you then have an effort to make it marketable. You can't just say fuck you to the audience. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you can now because of things like patreon.com/Ozone Nightmare. platforms like Patreon, that was not a setup for that. That really was a natural kind of interjection. But I'm thinking of like Andy Last, who does Beyond Synth. He's been the sole proprietor of that show forever because he has a very specific niche, and he started a show.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so niche or niche?
You can say it either way. I say niche, but you can say
go
niche. Ahead. He has a very specific demographic that he appeals directly to. There you go. Sidestep the whole word problem.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. And because he got in on synthwave early and talks to a lot of people in that scene, and that scene has never really blown up to a large degree.
No, but it's always been a thing. It's always there. It's like ambient techno. There's always going to be a crowd of us that are like, ooh, ambient techno.
Well, and
it's not going to be pop, you know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of music in it, so he can constantly bring on new people, and he has a backlog of shows or of music that he can just play even when there's, let's say, nobody to talk to for a while. He just did 5 or 6 shows where it was just him playing stuff that was, I don't remember. He said his playlist is how many tens of thousands of songs long because people send him stuff all the time, and he has all these albums, and he'll just save them to this master playlist, this super playlist.
That's awesome.
So he released 6 or 7 episodes where it was just, okay, I never got around to playing this because it never fit the guest or whatever, so I'm just going to play them. And so he's been able to do that on his own the same way, but he's reformatted the show a bunch of times too. He's changed the format multiple times, but it's always him. And that because again, single person running everything, doing all the production, all the stuff top to bottom. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to do it, or not easy, but it's easier when you manage everything because you know what you have to do. When you have to rely on somebody else, it can get rocky if the situation isn't correct. We've been fortunate. We don't hate each other. So and this is something I just recently actually kind of managed to accept as a reality.
What's that?
That I'm not that bad at talking. And what I mean by that
well,
is...
dude, you've got hundreds of hours of practice. You better be fucking good at it by now.
But when we say we don't know why anybody listens, we are being sincere. But the thing that was always additional to that for me is I never saw myself as being able to talk in an interesting way.
The two of us can chat endlessly.
Yeah, see, and I never really saw that, but then I listened to honestly.
And it's like, it's become a thing that you've got. It was always something that I had just because I'm chatty, apparently. And we both got skilled at it. And then like, I'm innately curious about other people. You're innately curious about other people. So it just spins up and it just starts going. And then it becomes like the two of us. I mean, come on. What is it? Like a perpetual motion machine? It's like a perpetual conversation machine. Like we start going and it just can drift for hours. Oh, man, like we cut off the show because we have places to be. But I mean, you and I could do a show for if we just let it go. We started like first thing in the morning, got a bunch of coffee, get ourselves set up with snacks. We could go for fucking hours, and not run out of shit to talk about.
That's true. Yeah, I like a perpetual conversation machine. That's actually I'm going to keep that phrase. I copied that so I can use it. That might be a show title.
Yeah. Plus we have team exercises 6 days a week.
Well, I mean that's true, but the thing is, like I said, I never internalized it, I guess is the phrase for it, because I just never thought about it. But I heard, in the last 2 weeks or so, I heard a couple of different shows.
Yeah.
Where they brought on people who were really bad at being on a podcast. And I've heard that here and there, but not much. But it was far more noticeable when these people were brought on next to people who are very good at it, and you could just hear them.
Were they being questioned? Like, were they there to be interviewed?
I don't want to. No.
Okay, so I don't know.
No. In both cases, they were not really interviewees. What they were people who, well, sort of, I guess. Okay, here's the format for at least 2 of them. In at least 2 of the cases, the person who was really bad at speaking in a public forum or in a show scenario was somebody who was doing essentially okay, here's the behind the scenes, and they knew they were going to be in this format. This wasn't a surprise. Somebody gets dragged onto something because, hey, Johnny, behind the camera, come on back. I want to have people say hi. Okay, that person stammers. I don't care. That's not what they're there for. You're shoving them into it. I forgive that stuff. But these people, this is not the first of these they've done. This is the first ones I've listened to because I was curious. And I'm sitting here going, okay. And one of them said something like, well, I don't do shows, so I'm sorry if I'm not good at this. Well, then don't come out here. Feed the answers to somebody.
but everybody has to start somewhere.
No. This was not that. This was not somebody starting. This was
because go listen to our early shows.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying about no. This is not that. Yeah. This is somebody made an error in judgment in. On both sides.
Because you know what? Some people, this show works really well for me because I don't care about the audience. I don't think there's an audience there. There's never really been any kind of real interaction other than every now and then you bring some, we've talked to somebody who does listen to the show and I'll be like, okay, that's weird. But otherwise, the show's just you and I talking. And the joke I've always made, but it is true, is that this is really just phone calls between you and me that we record.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And it's always been like I've always shown up for that. We've added things, you found sound bites, things like that. But it's like, at the end of the day, this is just our check-in at the end of the week.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And that's why we're still here. Yeah. This is gonna get very My Little Pony there, but it's all about friendship at the end.
Little Pony. I know how to diffuse that. Here's something that Lando suggested I put together. And I did, and I didn't play it yet because I wanted to save it for the show.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Yeah, go for it.
So please enjoy, everyone.
Come on, show me your dick.
Ah! There you go.
That's going for some kind of penal operation that goes terribly wrong.
I almost left the part where it says, why is there a dead body in there? But I don't know if that would really fit. I almost did.
No, those two together are perfect.
Yeah, that is peanut butter and chocolate right there. So. Yeah.
Well, I actually have some things to.
Wait! I didn't finish the shill segment.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, we're shilling. Okay, go shill.
If you want to support more stuff like that, you can go to the show. I already did the Patreon one, so you got that one. Patreon.com/OzoneNightmare. You can also go to the show homepage, and on the right side, you will see numerous squares that will have different ways of supporting different avenues of what we do. There's a PayPal link to support the show. There's a YouTube channel where you can watch our videos. There's a book that will take you to Lando's Amazon author page, and there's a skull that will take you to my art Linktree where you can see all the illustration stuff that I do. On that note, what would you like to start with, sir?
Okay, so I have one that's an argument discussion type thing, which I'm going to do second. But first, I want to talk about Bose devices. So
B-O-S-E.
B-O-S-E, yeah, Bose.
Okay.
So there was
like
a time.
Pitney Bose.
No, Bose Audio. There was a time that Bose Audio was like some of the most amazing audio in the market. Now, there are audio people, as in people that I know, who have said that it was overpriced, it was overdone. But there was a period of time that for the commercial or for the user market, the home user market, Bose delivered excellent sound and their shit just worked, right?
Well, can I tell you? Do you remember what our friend Snedecor said about Bose? Do you recall?
What's that? I remember he wasn't fond of them. No.
Well, okay. No, it wasn't. He wasn't fond of them. I specifically, maybe it wasn't on the show then, because I remember I asked him about this because somebody had asked me, and I honestly didn't know, because I always thought that Bose was very overpriced junk.
Oh, it was.
Well, no. He said no. He said no. What Bose did very well is they managed to keep a very good sound profile in very small devices. They did miniaturization really well before everybody else did.
So they did the little mini speakers that delivered incredible sound.
The little Bose Wave sound machine, when it initially came out, was a very good system for how small it was. Wasn't that it was the audiophile level, whatever.
No.
To get that
it
sound out of
delivered
that
great
was good.
sound. So yes. I have so my main computer here, I have a one of the old Bose speaker systems that's like they're the little speakers that are on the stands they're like on a little stand that, like, it looks far more like professional than it is, and then they're connected to a subwoofer which then connects to the computer. I've been using that for those got to be like more than 8 years old, and they're amazing. And if they ever break, I just recently found out that you can buy them used off of eBay, and they still go for hundreds of dollars used on eBay, which says to you how good, or at least how much of a following they have.
I was going to say, it means that product is good.
Yeah, I love these, and I told my wife, I was like, if these break at some point, I'm gonna be ravaging eBay to find.
Let me tell you something. You should buy an extra one now, so that if they suddenly jump to $10,000,
you just give me homework. Okay, so
no, really,
what I wanted,
this is advice to anybody.
Yeah,
if there's something that you really love and it has been
get it while you can. Yeah,
get it, because that company could suddenly change it.
Well,
or they might update it and destroy it, and then you're never going to get the original because it's going to be 4 times what it used to cost.
Bose decided to stop using wires, which is what a lot of companies have done, right? They decided they wanted to go Bluetooth. Bluetooth is the way of the future, and that is the way everything works, right? Now, I don't particularly have a huge problem with that. It does work some of the time, but I have found that their Bluetooth software is so not dependable, especially in their sound bars. Man, we had a sound bar, so we had a Bose sound bar for our main television, and first off, there's no power. No, there are no buttons anymore, right? I know that makes me sound very old, but like there's no actual like direct hard buttons. Everything is like a touch button type thing, right? And there are times that the device would just go haywire, and it wouldn't want to connect to anything. It wouldn't even connect to the hardwire, and there's no real simple control system to get it to, I remember talking to the Bose people, and they were like, oh, get the app. The app will solve everything. App didn't solve shit. And in the end, I came down one night, and my wife had unplugged it and was just like, I got tired of fighting with it and just you're using the TV speakers. And you know what? We never went back, because whenever I come down and people are watching TV, no one wants to deal with it, right? That's really good software right there. Just make people not want to use it. And the thing is that really sucks is that I have a similar sound bar from Bose on one of my other systems in the house. Never wants to connect. Massive issues. I went and read about it, and there were people who were talking about how they went through like 2 months of back and forth with Bose till they replaced it with another one that eventually broke. And I have just found that in general, the Bose Bluetooth software is so fucking unreliable. Anybody around here that I've talked to has said that they still love the sound. The sound is still great for that size of speaker. To get that kind of sound out of it is fantastic. It fills a room. But the Bluetooth is awful. And even because they've gone so hard into the Bluetooth, it used to be that you could just auxiliary port into something, right? But now even getting the auxiliary port to acknowledge that you've plugged something in is difficult. So my wife has a different one from me. She actually has a speaker that's got no battery. It's a Bluetooth Bose system. She hates it, and she finally got tired of trying to use the Bluetooth aspect of it, and she just tried to plug it in, and the thing didn't want to acknowledge that anything was plugged in. And it's like, to have so many problems with this technology in one household, and to have my old Bluetooth or my old Bose speakers that are just directly jacked in, which are, I mean, they're fucking awesome. They're probably the most dependable piece of technology I have in the house at this point. It's just so weird that they would go so hard into this and have it be so unreliable and irritating. And I understand the use of it. I when I work out, it's nice to have a Bluetooth speaker because I can walk around with my phone and I can control the music and be moving all around doing shit. But at the same time, it's like, oh God, I'd really just love some wires, and like we tried doing a bunch of different setups with the soundbar on our TV. Let me rephrase that. I did, because everybody else has lost their patience with it. And I couldn't get like the HDMI to hook up, and I couldn't get the optical cable to hook up. And like, we just tried all these different things. And it was like, yeah, dude, you suck. It's like, it's so sad when you've got a modern piece of technology and you are scanning eBay to find, 5-year-old technology because it works better. Thoughts, feelings?
Well, this is kind of, I think I don't know if I talked about this on the show. This is the problem I had with Logitech frankly.
Oh, I know this is going to be up your alley because this stuff is happening.
Well, yeah, no, this is and this is with Logitech. It's not quite the same because the Bose thing. Number one, I completely agree with you about the fact that there should be no speakers that exist that do not have an option for a connection through a cable. Period.
Or
Period,
at least a dependable old school hardwired connection.
That's what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm not talking about little earbuds or anything. I'm talking about bookshelf or stereo equipment.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. But the fact that we plug them into the auxiliary port and the speaker doesn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you're sitting there jamming the sense button for auxiliary port, and the thing's like, I can't hear you. I don't know what you're doing.
The default of any piece of sound equipment that is serious sound equipment should be with a hard connection available. Not necessarily saying it's the default of the machine or the hardware, but it should allow you to. And then there should be, if you want to go completely wireless, it should be noted that that's the version. And that should always be the secondary, Bluetooth only or true wireless or whatever.
Oh man, I would pay at this point. I would pay extra for a non-Bluetooth version.
Well, and that's fine too. That can be a premium product because that's fine. Again, I'm not saying that they shouldn't make it more expensive if they want to drive people to their wireless options. That's fine. You can do that, but there should be no set of speakers that does not have the option for a hardline connection. It's one of the reasons one of the things I really can't stand. Well, there's a few things, but the main thing that the main thing that bothers me about the HomePod is that there is no auxiliary out from it. There isn't. You're stuck with that. So either you have to pay $300 or whatever it is for the big one, which also doesn't have an aux out, which it should. There again, if Apple wanted to say no, you're going to be paying big bucks if you want an aux out. Fine.
Right. Yeah. And for anybody who's curious, the speakers that I'm talking about that have always been fantastic are the Bose Companion 3 series.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've used the
somebody has them on here for $144.
See, get them.
Jesus, I may need to get that.
Because the nice part about speakers is, as long as you don't mistreat them, they don't go bad. You keep them in that box sealed.
No, and as long as you make sure you do treat the cables right and stuff like that.
Well, and that's what is if you just make sure the box is sealed so that no moisture or anything get into it, you'll be fine. Those things will never go bad unless they, I guess it's possible that something on the circuit board could corrode spontaneously.
No, something can always fry.
But generally, all things being equal, speakers last forever as long as you want them to, But that's what I did is I've been using the Klipsch Pro Media 2.1s forever. And finally the cable went on one of them because I think I stepped on it. So I bought 2 sets because I know I'll never need any other speakers with these. They do everything. They are perfect for what I need for my computer speakers.
Oh, and the Companion 5s are around a lot too. I should definitely...
There you go. Yeah, I don't need rear on my computer speakers. If I need surround, I put on the headphones that I've got, which are Sony's. They're fine.
No, and I generally don't need surround sound for even I don't even care about surround sound on TVs. I don't really care. I just want
it's good in video games. A lot of video games take advantage of it. That's
but I just want smooth sound. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I would just love it if they gave us an option. And I understand that Bluetooth can be really convenient, but give me something that's not. And right now, I'm pretty sure there are no non-Bluetooth options through Bose. It's like if you want a Bose speaker, and it's not. It's the fact that it's a Bluetooth, and then you've got these buttons that aren't really buttons. You've got these like sense buttons that you. The biggest problem we had on the sound bar was that we'd hit the power button and we'd be like, "Did we hit the power button?" Like, oh look, there's a light. What does the light mean? Does it mean it's on? Does it mean it's off? Does it mean it's muted? Like it's almost Morse coding me, being like, I am sad. It's like, okay, I don't know that, like. Yes, I just wanted to complain, I guess, about that, Sure. And if others have issues with Bose like that, I've actually been looking at the Klipsch. I've actually
Klipsch. I have the Klipsch Pro Media. So I've used those forever. The 2.1s are my favorite speakers by far.
Yeah, I've been looking at those.
I mean, they're so reliable. And
not for my main unit, because like I said, the Companion series ones are fucking amazing.
Well, they've as much as I ever need out of my speakers, they provide, so they're fine. Actually, I think they go for like $200 and something. They're good. And they have a nice little, they have a what do you call it? They have two little inputs, one for headphone out, and then they have an aux in, which is great because if whenever I want to use any other machine that's not my main machine, I have a little cheap $15 Bluetooth audio thing that I just plug into that port. I turn it on, I connect to whatever it is, and I get all the sound. So I don't even have to rewire them. I have Bluetooth when I want it. And the nice part is I just pull the thing out when I don't want it. It's great. So I love the Pro Medias. I've used them. I don't remember where I first found out about them.
In the near future, I may be buying those for my wife.
They're very good. And they are, fortunately, I don't think, well, I shouldn't say that. I hope they never go out of, they've been around in the Pro Media 2.1s.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Those look exactly like my my companion series ones.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The thing about them is that I don't think they've changed them.
No, they don't. And I'm pretty sure they're wired, right?
They are wired. Yes, there is a edition that adds a Bluetooth capability. And see, that's what I mean. If you want that, you can get a set of them they have a little module on them that include a Bluetooth option. But what I would say, because from what I understand of that Bluetooth option, it's maybe not the best Bluetooth option. I don't know that they've implemented it very well.
Listen, these are great.
No, but what I would say is do what I did, which is just to buy a little simple Bluetooth. It's a little puck that just sits on my desk in the back. You can barely even see it. And whenever I want to connect something else to the Pro Medias, I just hit the button on that, I connect to it, and then I plug the thing into the little aux in, and I have all the same sound, and it works fine. So you get a lot of options. Speaking of which, though, I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but I will because we're talking about audio. Yeah. And I didn't know if you were aware of this already. Have you listened to the new Peter Gabriel album at all?
I have not yet. I didn't realize there was one. When did that come out?
It just came out. Well, I think it came out at the end of last
year.
year.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I vaguely saw something like that. Yeah, it was a very mature album that was kind of.
Well, he's been working on it for 21 years, so yeah, I'd say. Yes, and he announced each track last year, apparently at each phase of the moon, because it's fucking Peter Gabriel. But I remembered hearing about it, and then I forgot about it, and then somebody had mentioned it. And the other night when I was working on one of my Magic cards, because somebody bought a card, and I was like, "Oh, let me put this thing on."
Oh yeah, you're doing sales again, aren't you?
I am. I opened it back up. I guess I should have said that.
You should mention that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll mention that. If anybody wants a Magic, any of the 3 cards that I did, I am now selling the artist proofs again. So you can email me at, you can use the show email, or you can email me at ozoneartfoundry@gmail.com. That's where I usually just handle those through everywhere else, but it doesn't matter, whichever way you want to do it. But yeah, I was working on one of those cards for somebody, and I put the album on, and man, it's really good. It's really good, and it's very long. It's 24 tracks, and it's two different mixes of the same songs, and it's really interesting, a bright side mix and a dark side mix, and then there's a couple of other ones too, but I think those are considered bonuses. So but it's really good, because Peter Gabriel, I mean, look, I like Peter Gabriel, but I don't love all of his albums. I definitely have my favorites among the...
I like a lot of Peter Gabriel, but I mean, I don't like all of Peter Gabriel.
I'd say of everything I've heard of his... I mean, don't get me wrong. In fairness, I also tried to listen to some of the weirder stuff, so maybe I was sort of screwing myself there. I am at about a 60% like ratio. But again, I probably didn't help myself by listening to things that were described by people as some of his more out there shit. So... I just want to make sure I have the grading curve correct. But this one I thought was, I mean, part of it is he's been working on it so long that the production is, I would actually be curious what Snedekor thinks of this album in terms of production, because it sounds so good. And I mean, he's one of those people who could probably get anybody he wants as far as getting into a studio and getting them to play with it. He's one of those names that can probably call almost anybody who's a top level musician and get them to come in and work on his album. But man,
yeah, I mean, honestly, he's kind of like Hans Zimmer is one of those where anybody will work with Hans Zimmer at this point.
Yeah, and the nice part is that you can buy his album on Bandcamp so that you can get it in lossless. So you do not have, So that is a pretty significant thing, because, a lot of he's one of the bigger names to be on Bandcamp. Let's put it that way. It makes sense for him, but the fact that you can get it in basically any format you want, including lossless, is fantastic. And that probably, I mean, if not all that money, most of that money is going to go to him. So, yeah. But since you brought up the audio, I meant to mention that.
Well, yeah, I will definitely have to check him out. I mean, I told you that I found that list of like the top 50 albums of the year, and I'm actually trying to go through it to see to encounter what current music sounds like. And actually, I have had some success. Now, I've had some easy ones in there because Blur put out a new album, which they haven't done in like 15 years. So I was like, hey, Blur, that's an old one for me. But yeah, I've been trying to listen to the modern zeitgeist of music, and some of it's fun. I'll give you that. But now, to switch topics on you, because we should get to this.
Yes.
I read this article. It's not often that this happens to me, that I read an article and I think to myself, I got to talk to Joe. So, my wife and I encountered this in different places. I encountered it first in The Guardian, and then I encountered it in some different places. A girl was allegedly raped in the metaverse. Is this the beginning of a dark new future, was the headline, right?
Okay.
Now, as the story goes, a 16-year-old girl... Now, there's a lot of vagary here that I don't understand. But a 16-year-old girl was essentially using the virtual reality in the metaverse. Okay. At which point a bunch of people showed up, and they quote unquote raped her.
Yeah, so it was I was killed in the video what? I'm trying to figure out how this is.
Yeah, it isn't yet known what game she was playing when the alleged assault occurred. But obviously, there isn't an online game where the goal for adult players is to rape children. The fact that they are able in the metaverse is the issue at the heart of this case. But even so that's from the Guardian article. But I guess that's the thing that I'm very confused by is that I have people in my life that are important to me who have been the victim of sexual assault, right?
Yep, sure.
So
me too.
To throw the word rape around.
Okay, well, hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's right from the beginning start here. Do we know how old this girl is? 16. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it is possible. I don't know. So all this has to be prefaced with there's lots about this. I'm reading the Guardian article right now that I assume this is where you got it.
My question, though, is why is it not just sexual harassment?
Well, okay. This is where I was going with it.
Okay.
The 16-year-old girl may have reported, I have been raped. Now, I don't know what the requirements around a statement like that from a minor are.
Yeah.
It may be that they are required
to treat it
to investigate it as it was reported. I don't know.
But I guess the thing that baffles me is that I read this and I thought, yeah, you have been the victim of sexual harassment. But this is not rape. Sorry.
Well, you know what's interesting is I looked this up about how to define rape. And what's interesting is there are multiple things that say rape is often interchangeably used with the term sexual assault. So perhaps there are multiple things going on here.
No, I didn't say assault. I said harassed.
Well, but I'm saying is...
Assault to me always implies a physical confrontation.
Oh, interesting. I don't think that's legal.
Well, no, because here's the thing. If I yell at you online, that's harassment. If I show up and I punch you in the face, that's assault.
Hold on, let's see. Nope. Under this definition, that would not be true. Part of the definition of what constitutes sexual assault is, among other things, which you mentioned already, which is physical whatever, coercion or physical intimidation of a person to engage in a sexual act against their will. Now, that does not mean that there is any touching involved. So that could be coercion for somebody to expose themselves.
So what you're telling me, yes, and I guess I just have a hard time with this because I'm looking at this going, first off, it's the metaverse, right?
Here's another one. It can include torture of a person in a sexual manner. Well, depending on how you define that, if I have a grody-looking cock and I take it out and make you look at it, that's fucking sexual assault, which, frankly...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing is I do not deny that this is some kind of... that there is a sex crime here, right? But the idea that it is rape a virtual, like, I guess I have a hard time with the idea of virtual reality rape. It's not a real reality, and you can take those things off at any time. Like, this is not like this isn't like Snow Crash where you got locked in.
All right, slow down. So
because there are people who basically would make the argument of, well, you got to pull Howard Stern off the air because listening to him on TV was raping my ears, raping my thoughts with his talking about perverse ideas.
I'm letting you finish because I don't want to be one of those people who's cutting you off, because there are several things right at the opening where I'm like, yeah, this is not as clear cut as I think.
No, it's not. It's not. The article. The problem is the article is a little vague, right, about some aspects of this, but at the same time, I was just sitting there going, but it's a game, you know, like I don't understand what virtual reality in the metaverse is like at this point. Let me put it like that.
Well, I mean, I think it's exactly what you think it is. It's just a lot of avatars running around, you know, doing dumb shit, Second Life type stuff. The problem is that there's so little detail on what this is.
Yeah, well, because
this article is hung up on the definition of rape and, you know, the background. This doesn't say what actually happened. So without
I have no doubt that at a base level here, some level of sexual harassment.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to use one sentence, and I'm going to apply some type of thinking to it. Here's a sentence directly from the article I will quote. Actually, I'll quote the whole paragraph. This is actually a good kind of summation. Quote, British police, this is from the Guardian article, I'll link to it.
Yep.
Quote, British police are investigating the sexual assault of the girl, identified only as being under the age of 16, in what is said to be the first investigation of its kind in the UK. The girl was reportedly wearing a virtual reality headset and playing an immersive game in the metaverse when her avatar was attacked by several others, end quote. Now, right there is not the word rape present at all.
No, it isn't.
It's just important because that's where I was talking about sexual assault has a different definition than rape does. So right there, that could easily be something where and this says under the age of 16, not 16. Yeah. So this could be a 12, 13.
Yeah, earlier in the article, they say 16.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess my thing with this is that by these standards, right, like I guess, I mean, earlier in the article, they cite the idea that, you know, you play a game like Call of Duty, you know you're going to be killed.
By the way, just so we're really clear, the article nowhere says 16. Its only reference is under. It says under if you reread it. That's important because the significant portions. Go ahead and reread it. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at the Guardian article.
Oh, identified only as being under the age of 16. There you go.
Now that's important because depending on how old this girl was, manipulation in let me give you a scenario which to me could qualify for what this paragraph says. Young girl, let's say, I don't know, 12 to 16, whatever, young. Under 16 is probably very impressionable and easily manipulated by people who know what they're doing. Will we agree on that?
Some.
Potentially. I was going to say, possibly.
Yeah, some. That's what I said, some.
So let's say that is the case here and that somehow this individual was roped into being surrounded by avatars who then, I see, and I don't know what can happen in whatever she was playing. There are games where you can display images that you take.
But I guess my question is still, why couldn't she just turn it off?
Well, okay. She could, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. So, all right, here's a scenario. Girls in this game playing, blah, 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 going along, and, these other players somehow manipulate this person or mislead this person into some scenario where maybe they're going to reward her with coins or help her get to the next level of the game. I have no idea. Whatever, a normal thing.
Yeah, but the problem is we don't understand what the hell she was doing.
No, we don't. But I'm
we don't understand what the game was. Yeah,
I'm setting up a game scenario where she thinks. Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming if she reported what happened in the end was not what she expected. Let's just make that presumption.
Oh yeah.
So they get her into a virtual alley of some kind, and suddenly they open up multiple. No, I'm trying to make.
No, I'm sorry. The imagery, the virtual alley.
Yeah, I'm reading Snow Crash, so a lot of this.
I know. That's what I mean. Like that's the thing. Your mind jumps to that, right?
It does, and that's my understanding of how most of these are set up. Is they are basically 3D spaces.
Yeah.
But without further detail, let's go with the most general, what do you call it, Lawnmower Man looking VR scenario, where they get her into this place, and then they all suddenly activate, let's say, either images or actual video of guys jerking off or women being beaten or sodomized or whatever.
And that can be a sexual harassment.
Right. Seconds later, she rips the helmet off. Well, that doesn't stop it. Yeah, you should go over any time, but if you don't know where you're being led, that's what I'm saying that's the problem.
And that's why a situation like this has to be clarified.
And just so, because if this were to happen to your daughter and somebody said to you, why don't you just take the helmet off? Would your response be very calm? I doubt it.
No, because first off, I'd have more information. And second off, I would say that is sexual harassment.
Assuming the scenario I laid out is somewhat analogous to what happened. Somebody saying online, well, I don't know what kind of parent doesn't take that helmet off her kid. Or his kid.
Well, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know necessarily what's going on.
That's
what listen. My son is playing a game now that his grandfather got him into, which is like an online fighting game, like a strategy game, right? And one of the things in the game is that players can talk to each other because there's like it reminds me of StarCraft, but it's like very StarCrafty. But you can talk to other people and you can form kind of guilds and stuff like that.
Sure.
I get nervous about that.
As you should.
He is uncultured in the ways of shitty people online, and I often check in with him and say, "Is everybody being good? Is everybody nice? Somebody's asking any inappropriate questions?" Like,
Well, the good thing about most non-VR AR games is there's no capacity for the visual element. Somebody could yell at you.
Yes, no, they can text. Yeah, they can text him, and I think that
but there's a barrier
he's smart enough that
if
something got weird, I think he'd say something to me. But it's like, with the virtual reality, I guess I just look at it and go, there's definitely an element of sexual harassment here, but I almost feel like it is irresponsible, especially with the vagary of the facts of the case, for someone to cry rape. Like, now, I'm not saying that the 16-year-old cried, or the under 16-year-old cried rape, but the fact that the article cried rape.
Well, I think you're now zeroing in on the real problem, which is, I don't see anything indicating that what they're now. I should say, I don't know what the definition of rape in the UK is. I'm going by the American one that I found, as well as sexual assault. And laws do differ by country.
Yep.
And perhaps in the UK, rape is defined differently. That is possible. You have to remember, the UK and Europe in general do not exactly line up with a lot of American views on things. So it is possible that rape there... Did you find it?
I did, yeah. Rape in England.
Yeah.
A person A commits an offense if he intentionally penetrates the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person with his penis. B does not consent to the penetration, and A does not reasonably believe that B consents. Whether a belief is reasonable is to be determined having regard to all the circumstances, including any steps A has taken to ascertain whether B consents. A person is also guilty of an offense under this section is liable, or on conviction on indictment, to imprisonment for life. Oh, good.
Okay. And what is the definition of sexual assault, or whatever they call it?
Hold on. That's something else.
I don't know if they're even different there. They are apparently here, or at least they are classified often interchangeably, which I agree. The interchangeability of rape and sexual assault, as far as I can see, is problematic.
Yeah, the thing is, and I'm not saying sexual assault here. I'm saying sexual harassment because, like I said, to me, but
sure.
by the assault implies a physical assault, whereas harassment is something that happens online.
The interesting part is...
Yeah.
Do they make a distinct? And I just honestly don't know this. In the U.S., maybe you do, maybe you don't. I know that when you get into minors, things change. Does sexual harassment change?
Because it's different because you're basically with a minor. For example, if your scenario where they flash sexual imagery at them, right?
Yeah.
That is an implication that is a sexual harassment because you're showing an underage person visuals of a mature nature that you are not allowed to.
Okay.
But I think hold on, because I think in the article.
Yeah. See, this is really the problem with a lot of this is the article is using the word rape, which.
And even the phrase an immersive game in the metaverse when her avatar was attacked by several others, and I'm kind of sitting there going, well, any
game with a virtual reality headset is by extension immersive, or at least in theory would be.
Yeah,
so
but the idea that you were attacked, it's like, well, what the hell? I don't know enough about metaverse to be like,
okay,
what the fuck is what is there a Is there something built in to allow people to attack each other? Like,
well,
what is?
Okay.
Yeah.
I need
more data on this.
You need a definition of what attack means, which I know it sucks to have to get into definitions, but that's the truth.
No, but it's the truth. Yeah.
There are virtual, but I doubt this. But I don't know. This could be a very rich young girl who has like a lot of tech. There are things that have feedback response, that type of thing. Nothing that I think, at least no responsible parent, would give a child that has anything,
Yeah, but you would even if they were using, first off, if they were using some sort of force feedback technology. See, that's the thing. The more virtual feedback you get, that changes it, right? So if you're wearing like an immersive virtual feedback system, yes, you can be raped in virtual reality. But
also keep in mind, if this is a very young person, the level of immersion is going to be different for that person than it is going to be for us as adults. We can very clearly distinguish the lines between reality and unreality as adults with maturity and experience. A young person who puts on a helmet that may be very good. This could be a very well-rendered game. And the longer you spend in these things, you do start to shift your perception. I mean, I don't do a lot of VR stuff. I don't own anything, but I've used the technology here and there enough. And even in the short sessions, I started to get at one point motion sickness, that type of thing. So there clearly is some effect. There is. So a young person, again, we have to try to contextualize this in terms of the age of this person.
Can we agree that on the current amount of information, the phrase rape is strong?
It is incorrect. Forget strong. It is legally incorrect.
And that there, at the base level here, there is definitely a sexual...
At least the American. Well, you gave me the definition. So under the definition of rape in that country, in the UK, it is an incorrect use of the term and misleading. So let's start right there.
And that there is definitely on a base level at least some level of sexual harassment.
If they're based on what's in there,
the art,
yes, and I think depending on the definition, sexual assault might be correct
possibly
in this case, depending on what's going on.
It feels irresponsible to throw it feels clickbait.
It absolutely is. No. And that I'm entirely with you. This headline should not say like, allegedly raped.
Somebody was raped online. You're like, what? Like,
in fact, hold on. I want to look at something. Hold on. I'm looking at. You know what's interesting? Okay.
Yep.
A shared experience was an alleged gang rape. Interesting. So the first paragraph.
The subtitle is even worse. Yeah. So British police are investigating the case of a minor who was allegedly subjected to a virtual gang rape. Expect more cases. Yeah, the whole virtual gang rape. Now you're conjuring imagery that's not in your article. Like, at no point,
Yeah, it's very vague. This article is
vague,
bad.
but jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, well, the article I'm sorry to say is poorly written. At least in my view, because it does not make a very clear distinction on what the charge and what the definition are.
My wife read an article elsewhere, and it was just as clickbaity. Like, this is just...
that tells me they're all sourcing the same thing.
Yeah.
Hold on. There is one interesting thing in this article, because, this is interesting. There's somebody who said... In 2022, the psychotherapist Nina Jane Patel, who does research on the metaverse, wrote of the quote, surreal nightmare of being gang raped in Horizon venues. So let's see what she's saying. A woman reveals nightmare of being gang raped in virtual reality. See, here again. This is a headline thing. My experience of sexual harassment was, to say the least, shocking. Now, see, this is where... Now, is this also UK? Yes. So I wonder if part of this... is not the fact that maybe in the UK they use words differently, because
must be
this is a real mixed.
Yeah, because the surreal nightmare of being gang raped in Horizon venues.
Well, and see, what's interesting is the part in the article that I looked at, which is on the Independent, that says gang raped with a link goes nowhere. The link's been removed, even though it's got a link there. When you link to it, it just goes to the front page. So that's interesting, or it goes to. All the page. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just on every single. Oh, God. Never mind. I didn't realize that's where it was going.
I'm looking at the visuals for Horizon Worlds.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what a gang rape must look like in this game. You know what? You should look this up. Type in Horizon Worlds and look at the image search.
Well, I'll do that in a second. But here,
I mean, now we're bordering on like the absurd.
All of the quotes.
Yeah.
I'm because this is a psychotherapist, so this is somebody that I would expect to be hopefully more careful with their terminology. And interestingly, yes. I have yet to find the word rape in any of her direct quotes. What I see is, as you said, sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Sexually harassed. I'm reading.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, sexual harassment. I mean, sexual harassment can happen in Second Life. Sexual harassment can happen in Call of Duty. Like, any asshole has the capability of sexually harassing others in a game that has a public element, you know?
So she did say, quote, within Jesus Christ. Within 60 seconds of joining, I was verbally and sexually harassed. 3 to 4 male avatars with male voices, essentially, which I don't know what that means. I guess she couldn't really tell if they were all male voices, but that could be indistinguishable in a game. But virtually gang raped my avatar and took photos. As I tried to get away, they yelled, "Don't pretend you didn't love it and go rub yourself off to the photo." What does that mean? What is a virtual gang rape in Horizon? How is it possible?
The game would have to have some kind of, like, someone would have to write the code for that to be possible, right? Unless Meta was hacked.
Okay. I do know. I don't know about Horizon Worlds specifically, but I know in Second Life there was the capacity to have sex with people. So they clearly did code certain things. I don't know. And
right,
also,
so is
the other
sex,
thing you have to remember.
Hold on, I'm curious now. Is sex coded
these are putting us on watch lists. These are putting us on watch lists, by the way. Oh,
God. Hey, dude, what did you look up earlier?
Whoa, here we go. Meta to officially allow... Oh, so this is the Facebook thing. Meta to officially allow 18-plus content in its metaverse VR environment. So, let's see. So, what does that mean? What does that mean? I mean, what is that? Near nudity, sexually suggestive material or environments, intense fictional violence that contains blood and gore, and worlds that focus on promoting 18+ activities such as gambling, drinking alcohol, using tobacco or cannabis. Wow.
Here you go. Here's a Washington Post article.
All right, go
ahead. There are 19 incidents in which it appeared that minors were being exposed to prejudiced comments, harassment, or sexually explicit content. Yeah. Yeah, and then over the 100 recordings in Horizon Worlds, it found 66 of them contained users who appeared to be under the age of 18. So there's definitely sexual harassment going on here.
Yeah, I think you are correct that one of the main problems, if not the main problem with this article and others, is they're not, at the very least, and I think this would be a start of a...
Okay, hold on. I got more here.
All right, good.
The following worlds will be allowed in Horizon, but must be marked as mature. Content that is sexually suggestive. For example, near nudity, depictions of people in implied or suggestive positions, or an environment focused on activities that are overly suggestive. So it sounds like some of this shit is built into the environment. Although what's hilarious, again, is if you look at that, like, I can't look at Horizon Worlds and not laugh at this. It's all like, bubbly cartoons. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I look at this and I'm like, this is like watching, fucking Disney hentai. You know what I mean? Like it's that level of absurd.
So here's the first problem. Any article of this type, in my opinion, should, before it does anything else, explain the words and phrases being used and what their legal definitions are. And stick to them. Because honestly, I don't know about the UK, but the problem is that apparently rape and sexual assault are used interchangeably, and I don't know that that's really great, and I don't know if that's legally the same thing. I doubt it is. I think, okay, wait, you know what? Hold on. Are rape and sexual assault the same thing? Hold on. Let's just see.
In the UK?
I'm just looking it up in general. Here we go. Let's see. This is... I don't... Okay, what's the difference between sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and rape? Okay, so that's good. 4 terms. This is an American, says .com. The authors of the article are a professor of psychology and an associate dean at Georgia State University, so that's good. A professor of psychology, women's studies, and management and organizations at the University of Michigan, and the Regents Professor of Public Health at University of Arizona. So that's good. We have 3 different people with different expertises. Sarah L. Cook, Lila M. Cortina, and Mary P. Koss. If you want to find it. I'm not going to link everything here. This will be 40 pages long.
Yeah.
So, nation debates, the term, okay, here it is, are cropping up daily in the news. This isn't new. Many people want to understand these behaviors and work to prevent them. But what does each term mean? Excellent. Thank you. Here we go. Okay, let's start by defining. What a fucking concept. Define your terms. Let's start by defining each of these terms. Then we look at these behaviors. This is important. I do want to read all this. I know it's going to
I
be long,
100%
but this
agree with
is
you.
valuable.
Yeah.
All right, so sexual abuse. The term that's been used in the news most recently with reference to sports doctor Larry Nassar is sexual abuse, a form of mistreating children. Sexual abuse is mainly used to describe behavior towards children, not adults. Interesting. I did not know that. All 50 states, so this is U.S., all 50 states have laws, so again, it's UK, but we'll stick with what we got here. All 50 states have laws that recognize that children are not capable of giving informed consent to any sex acts. Now if the UK is using that, that's interesting. In the United States, the age at which consent can be given ranges from 16 to 18 years. Okay. Sexual abuse can include many different things, from touching a victim in a sexual manner to forcing a victim to touch the perpetrator in a sexual way to making a victim look at sexual body parts or watch sexual activity. Sexual abuse of a child is a criminal act. I wonder if the UK uses this as their basis. I don't know, but that's sexual abuse. Now we'll come to rape, which is, kind of what we're talking about with this UK article. Mm-hmm. Rape. In 2012, the FBI issued a revised definition of rape as penetration, quote, penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus with any body part or object, or oral penetration by a sex organ of another person without the consent of the victim, end quote. The revised law is gender neutral, meaning, so I bet before it said women or something. It must have said something, because now they're saying the revised law is gender neutral, meaning that anyone can be a victim, which, by the way, I have no problem with. When carefully examined, the FBI definition does not look like most people's idea of rape, typically perpetrated by a stranger through force. The FBI definition says nothing about the relationship between the victim and the perpetrator, and it says nothing about force. It does, however, say something about consent, or rather the lack of it. Think about consent as your ability to make a decision about what happens to your body. A perpetrator can compel a victim into a penetrative act in multiple ways. A perpetrator can ignore verbal resistance, like saying no, stop, or I don't want to, or overpower physical resistance by holding a person down so they cannot move. A person can penetrate a victim who is incapable of giving consent because he or she is drunk, unconscious, asleep, or mentally or physically incapacitated, or can threaten or use physical force or a weapon against that person. Essentially, these methods either ignore or remove the person's ability to make an autonomous decision about what happens to their body. State laws vary in how they define removing or ignoring consent. Well, of course they do. It's America. Perpetrators can't defend against charges of rape by claiming they were drunk themselves or by saying they are married to the victim. Okay, that's reasonable. I think that was probably most people's general sense of that. Now we come to sexual assault. Rape and sexual assault have been used interchangeably in coverage of events leading to the Me Too movement, and this practice, though unintentional, is confusing. Side note, I agree. Getting back to the article. In contrast to the specific criminal act of rape, the term sexual assault can describe a range of criminal acts that are sexual in nature, from unwanted touching and kissing to rubbing, groping, or forcing the victim to touch the perpetrator in sexual ways. But sexual assault overlaps with rape because the term includes rape. That makes some sense to me. Going on. Social and behavioral scientists often use the term, quote, sexual violence, end quote. This term is far more broad than sexual assault. It includes acts that are not codified in law as criminal but are harmful and traumatic. Sexual violence includes using false promises, insistent pressure, abusive comments, or reputational threats to coerce sexual acts. It can encompass non-contact acts like catcalls and whistles, which can make women feel objectified and victimized. It includes non-consensual electronic sharing of explicit images, exposure of genitals, or surreptitious viewing of others naked or during sex. Interesting. Man, sexual assault sounds like the messiest of all these terms because, man, it seems like there's a lot of back and forth on that one.
You're dealing with a very messy territory.
I get it, but that starts to explain maybe why it's being used this way. And finally, let's finish with sexual harassment, which is the final of these four terms. Sexual harassment is a much broader term than sexual assault, encompassing three categories of impermissible behavior. 1. Sexual coercion, legally termed quid pro quo harassment, referring to implicit or explicit attempts to make work conditions contingent upon sexual cooperation. The classic sleep with me if you're fired scenario is a perfect example of sexual coercion. It is the most stereotypical form of sexual harassment, but also the rarest. Interesting. Second, and more common, is unwanted sexual attention, unwanted touching, hugging, stroking, kissing, relentless pressure for dates, or sexual behavior. Note that romantic and sexual overtures come in many varieties at work. Not all of them harass. Oh, wait. Note that romantic and sexual overtures come in many varieties at work. Not all of them harassing. That's a weird sentence. To constitute,
you're reading a legal document, right?
Yeah, I guess that's why.
There's going to be a lot of weird ones in there.
Yeah. I guess it's legal. It's the psychologist and the yeah. Well, whatever. That's fine. It's just me getting hung up on it. To constitute unlawful sexual harassment, the sexual advances must be unwelcome and unpleasant to the recipient. They must be, quote, sufficiently severe or pervasive, end quote, to, quote, create an abusive working environment, end quote, according to the U.S. Supreme Court. So, okay, I guess this is apparently much more common at workplaces. Unwanted sexual attention can include sexual assault and even rape. If an employer were to forcibly kiss and grope a receptionist without her consent, this would be an example of both unwanted sexual attention and sexual assault, both a civil offense and a crime. Oh, you know why? Because the article's about a workplace thing. That's why this is phrased this way. Most sexual harassment, however, entails no sexual advance. The third and most common manifestation is gender harassment, conduct that disparages people based on gender but implies no sexual interest. Gender harassment can include crude sexual terms and images. For example, oh boy, here we go. We're going to have some words coming up, guys, so get yourselves ready. Degrading comments about bodies or sexual activities, graffiti, calling women, quote, cunts, or men, quote, pussies. More often than not, though, it is purely sexist, such as contemptuous remarks about women being ill-suited for leadership or men having no place in childcare. I don't hear that one a lot, that last one. Such actions constitute, quote, sexual, end quote, harassment because they are sex-based, not because they involve sexuality. There you have it, the 4 different terms. But, yeah, sorry, I know I was reading there's a wall of text, but we talk about you should define your terms. That is the definition by, again, 3 different individuals with different areas of expertise.
And I still think it's strong for them to throw the word rape around.
Reading this, I agree. And the legal definitions that you read, I agree. I think that's why any article like this should have started with some condensed version of what, maybe not as long, but what I just read should open any article that is using these phrases that can be misinterpreted.
Yeah, and I do worry in the future with people getting meaner to each other, where they start using terms around. Like, I almost feel like we need new terms. If it's going to be virtual reality, then maybe there should be a new area of virtual rape.
Well, I'm assuming that whatever is being investigated.
Oh, you know what? Actually, no, I'm going to change my position on that because I just didn't think about it because if the experience is as
I was going to say, as long as the legal definition covers it, I don't think you need something new.
Yeah, so the way I see it is, as long as there isn't a force feedback system, and you are unable to exit it, I think that most of the time it's sexual harassment. You know, like you said, if you can't turn it off fast enough, right? There's some level.
Yes.
But I mean, seriously, go look at the Horizon Worlds graphics as well.
There is okay. I want to make this very, very specific because I don't want to completely outlaw that rule out. There is the possibility for digital rape. And let me explain what I'm talking about.
Okay, but do you realize that you just defined something else entirely, right?
No. I'm just saying that there is a way for penetration to occur without physical...
I know. But the phrase digital rape...
Well, I'm using that as a descriptor of how...
I know. I'm trying to tell you. Legally,
no, it's not a term. It's rape.
No, digital rape. Digital rape is already a term. It's when you rape somebody with your fingers. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
And I know that because that happened in my high school, and when we were reading the article about it, the phrase because it was an article about the situation in the legal case. The phrase digital rape was thrown around a lot, and everybody was like, "What?" Digital rape is when you are
I could still be right even when I'm talking
about
it.
No, I know that, but I'm just telling you that it is already a class of rape.
In my mind, up until this point, in my head, I thought there is no way rape could occur in this scenario, but there is a way it could happen because I was sticking with the physical penetration idea. However, Now, I still do not believe in any way it would apply to this story from anything that's been in here, unless there's something we don't know about.
Like I said, there's not enough information, essentially.
If there was an additional piece of technology that fits what I'm about to describe, these parents need to be thrown in jail. So I'll just say that. Probably.
Well, is it forced
Allegedly.
feedback, right?
Well, there are computer-assisted sexual devices that you can buy that will allow for penetration from a remote agent.
But hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what kind of fucking parent are you?
Well, what did I just say? If this applies to the story we're talking about,
like
these parents
if
should be
the
in jail.
story read, I knew that my mom had a virtual reality fuck device, and I went and sat on it while I was cruising Horizon Worlds, and I was raped. Yes, by that standard.
That's why I was saying.
But there's a whole other level of parents. Why don't you lock up your virtual fuck technology?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about this story. This story, as far as we can tell, this has nothing to do with it.
Yes, like you had to add a whole other level of technology and negligence to make it possible.
Well, because I was thinking that in my head.
Yeah.
And I didn't say this because I was trying to workshop this in my brain as we were talking. I'm sitting here going, is there any way that if somebody said I got raped in a virtual reality space that I would think that they were using the term correctly? And I couldn't come up with one until I thought of the fact that, well, an adult woman or man, frankly, it doesn't have to be either one, somebody who buys one of these assistive technologies, maybe because they have a disability or for whatever reason, maybe they just like it better when it's coming from a machine, who knows? And that thing was hacked by somebody against their will and was used on them.
You know what? Listen, by those standards, yes.
Then that could constitute
rape. That is not what this article is about.
Nothing provided within this article fits with the use of the word rape as we have defined it and as we've seen it defined. Let's be very specific. That does not mean that there is no outside chance something did happen, but certainly this article is far too casual.
Vague.
Well, I'll say too casual with its terms and too lacking in definition and specifics for us to, well, certainly for me, I won't speak for you, but I think you're going to agree. I would find the use of rape as the way this article uses it to be borderline, well, it's inappropriate and possibly incorrect. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it was clickbaity, yeah.
Well, same thing. Even if it wasn't clickbaity, even if the person didn't intend for it to be clickbaity, it could still be irresponsible and incorrect.
But here's the thing, is that now one step beyond that, I do think that we live in a world where this level of sexual harassment online has to be addressed and policed. I do believe that because a lot of humans are assholes. And, I
think that the definitions as they exist would extend to any online interaction.
Oh, I know, but we have to figure out the monitoring is what I mean.
Well, that's the trick, and that's why I think I believe that is partially why some of these stories are written the way they are, is to make people understand.
They're trying to get people angry.
Yes, I don't think it's a good way to do it, but I think that is I'm extending the most optimistic thing to it.
You and I spent a lot of time in online games, a lot of time in World of Warcraft, shit
Nonsense.
like that.
I barely play games at all.
What's that?
I barely play any games at all.
I know that's team building exercises. I know.
Yes.
And there are a lot of assholes. And there was a lot of ways you could be harassed. You know what? Both of us, at some point or another, have been the victim of online harassment of some kind. It takes many forms. Sometimes it's just a fucking rogue in World of Warcraft who decides to sneak into your area and kill the shit out of you. To the point of which that you log out. I'm sure that's happened to you, Joe.
Oh, it's happened.
Right? It happened to me many times. Some asshole who just decided to ruin my night. And in the end, I either shut the game off or I jumped to a different server. Right? That was my response. But I was harassed to leave a virtual space. Right? We both probably have many stories of that. I don't play GTA Online because when I first started playing, it was a harassment murder fest. All people wanted to do was hurt each other on a serial level, which says to me, that's not my game. The fact that is the base entrance to that game is, hey, I've just started playing. Everyone's going to kill me because people suck. So I do think that there needs to be some structured monitoring online. But also there are games that are kind of Wild Westy and that are labeled mature, right? And if you're going into a game that is labeled mature, then you know that you're going into an environment that, you may see some things. Now that does not mean that anyone should be harassed. Let's be very clear about that. But I do think that I think there should be better monitoring for that kind of thing. Now, granted, in World of Warcraft, I was harassed, but that doesn't mean that I don't think it should have happened. And that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I was playing a game where people fight each other. The Alliance fights the Horde, and I was being harassed by an Alliance rogue. Was it shitty? Yes, but I don't necessarily think it was outside the rules of the game. Do you know what I mean? And I had the option to leave the server and go to a PvE server where there's no player versus player content, like combat. Or I could just shut the fucking game off, but I do think that depending on the type of game it is, right, that there should be some level of harassment policing based on what the game is. Because, player versus player games, Call of Duty online, there's a lot of fucking smack talkers there. Like, I don't even turn on those public channels when I used to play because it was full of fucking mean-spirited people. Because you're playing a game where everybody murders each other. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I do believe, like I said, I stand by the idea that in certain games, you don't want people harassing each other. And what was that game you played? Not Crossing Guard. What was it called? Animal Crossing.
Yes.
You don't want fucking harassment and mean assholes invading Animal Crossing. I don't even know how the game works. I don't even know.
Well, Nintendo, I believe you can't even there's no voice in it, no voice chat. So that's one thing. It's completely sanitized. I don't think you can even type curse words into it.
Yeah, when we played, what was it? Wastelands.
Don't get me wrong. Could you potentially put, 2 cherries and a banana down in a suggestive way? Sure, probably.
Yeah, sure. But when we played Wastelands, you couldn't have inappropriate names.
No.
Remember? Even though it was just the two of us playing, the game would not allow for inappropriate names. In the end, I had to name my character. I had to find I think it was the Norwegian word for vagina.
Yes,
that was the only way. That was the only way you could get around it. But no inappropriate words. And I was like, there you go. I was like, that was their own form of policing. And we thought it was funny because it became kind of, and like we do, it became a game to see if you could get around it. But it was just the two of us, right? And at no point did you turn to me and say, hey, I don't appreciate your character's name being vagina in Norwegian. That's the consent element, right?
Right.
I wanted to bring this up because there's going to be, as the one true thing the article did say was there's going to be more shit like this that comes down the road. As we get more virtual technology, as it becomes more prevalent, there's going to be more questions as to what the nature of harassment in virtual environments is. And at what point does that virtual become a reality? And remember, I think years ago we talked about how if something happens to you in a dream that is realistic enough, hasn't it just happened to you? Right? And on another level, if you
wake
believe,
up and,
what's that?
If you wake up and you are in trauma or, in a
well, that's what I mean.
Like
you take the trauma with you, right? If it was real enough, and so if you're in an environment where you feel very attached, if you're in an environment that is virtual enough that it does start to feel very real, yes, by all means, there can be a sexual harassment. But when will the technology evolve to the point that, like you said, there could be an actual sexual assault? Right? Without having to create an outlandish situation where parents left out their virtual fuck machine and then a 16-year-old was like, oh, what is this weird, saddle-looking device? I'm just going to sit on this and play, Horizon Worlds.
Sure. Well, I think the easiest way to summarize this in a way that I think is universal but also applies is I have no reason to disbelieve or doubt that a crime occurred in this scenario.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the larger point that you're making, and I think I agree with, is that the protections against these crimes are the things that people should be focused on. And journalists should not be using terms that are incorrect or engineered for attention gathering, as opposed to maybe the better article would be, this situation happened. Here's why it could be a problem legally because there aren't protections, and then do the rest of the article on the lack of protections, as opposed to spending most of this article debating the term virtual rape. Does it matter whether they use the term virtual rape or not? The terms are already established. The terms being used are already established, and as far as I can tell, they would apply in a virtual or real scenario if they are used correctly. They were already defined. We don't have to put the word virtual before, after, or inside of them. That doesn't matter. What matters is, does what happened fit the term that the crime is being prosecuted under? Yes? Great. Keep going. No? Change it. Just change the term. Who cares if it says virtual? The problem is the lack of protections, and to make sure that we're calling things what they are, as defined. Again, this is not, they didn't come up with a new word because they didn't need to. If they came up with a new word and they were trying to, that's where the sexual assault thing is the problem, because it gets mired into so many other things and it can be confusing. It's not easy to kind of separate these things. I'm not saying they have to be separated, but it becomes difficult to know what you're talking about. That is part of the issue. And maybe, just to be as generous as possible, perhaps even the journalists were confused on what the terms, maybe somebody said, oh, rape and sexual assault are interchangeable. Maybe somebody told them that and they incorrectly just went with it. I agree. The term rape is, I think, incorrectly at the very least used here. But as far as what you're talking about, which is the lack of protections against crimes that can happen in a virtual space, yeah, obviously. That's clearly a problem when any form of what happened here. A minor was apparently exposed to something that would be considered a crime in the UK. Allegedly, but,
allegedly, yes.
Assuming they're not, that the child is not lying, and I'm going to call him a child because under 16 to me is a child. Assuming the child is not making something up or exaggerating, which is possible, we don't know, but let's take it at face value, then it does appear a crime has occurred. So, should that crime have occurred? No. Why? But then you have to get into, okay, what were the things that led up to it? And that's a whole bunch of things.
And that's up for the courts to figure out. The
Correct.
Investigation in the courts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess take us to Center Your Pastures.
Well, sort of. Okay, so I have a movie review for you.
Oh no.
Well, actually, this is it's not depressing, or it has nothing to do with this really, but something interesting happened. I was looking through the trailers for Vinegar Syndrome releases because, as people should probably know by now, I'm a big fan of Vinegar Syndrome, the company that puts out lots of cult. Basically, they tend to specialize in genre cult or porno Blu-rays and 4Ks.
Which I still think is so funny that's like their intersection. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Here's the actual definition. An American home video distribution company which specializes in, quote, protecting and preserving genre films, end quote. So, the interesting part is that was founded by people who were restoring old X-rated films that otherwise could not be watched. And they've expanded because they actually take video and movie restoration. They took what is normally something reserved for, let's say, Oscar winners that have their films damaged in fires, and they applied many of those processes to films that most people don't think should get that. And that's what made them different. And so they typically do releases for older films, or again, X-rated films. But, I've bought Yes, Madam, and I bought the Apocalypse tetralogy through them. They typically release older or harder to find stuff in these really beautiful editions, or New York Ninja, that type of thing. So whenever they talk about distributing a new film, it piques my interest because I saw a trailer they released. I'm going to probably get their double release for Black Cat 1 and 2 because that looks delightfully bad. I've heard of these movies. They have done what looks like a beautiful job of restoring them. That's not the movies I'm reviewing here. The movie I'm reviewing here is called Divinity, and it's from 2023.
Wait, Divinity?
Divinity. Yeah, like,
okay.
divine.
No, that's fine. I got you.
Yes. And I had seen a trailer for this film, and it had looked bonkers. And so when Vinegar Syndrome said they were releasing it, which they did, I went, well, that must mean something, because they don't release straight or standard films. They tend to get into the bonkers stuff. And that trailer looked bonkers, but I just didn't expect it to be on their thing. That's something I would have expected, I don't know, maybe from A24 or somebody else, not Vinegar Syndrome, but they are in charge of this. So I went, okay, I'm going to rent this, because this could either be really good or it could be really bad. And the reality is it's really neither. It is a beautiful piece of simple narrative. This feels like a story that you could have read over the course of, let's say, 10 pages in heavy metal. Like, just that some artist had a really neat kind of art style and came up with a very, very simple story to be able to do a couple of set pieces that they wanted to illustrate. The movie is set on Earth. I wasn't really sure about that for a while, but that I did read, and it does make sense with what's said. And when you look this movie up, the top billing is Scott Bakula, Stephen Dorff, and Bella Thorne. Yes. Now, let me tamp expectations immediately. Those individuals might be in the movie for 5 to 7 minutes total. Not that they're not important characters, but they are not really in the movie. They are there for certain scenarios. And actually, most of my clips do feature them.
Is this the Steven Soderbergh Presents?
That's, yes.
Interesting.
Did you watch the trailer yet?
No, I haven't. I'm just looking at the IMDb for it.
What is the IMDb summary? I'm curious of this.
Hold on 1 second. Centers on two mysterious brothers who abduct a mogul during his quest for immortality. Meanwhile, a seductive woman helps them launch a journey of self-discovery.
Okay, that's somewhat accurate. So, movie starts out, and we immediately get a voiceover, and we do see him, so I should make it like you don't actually see him. We get Scott Bakula in very nerdy-looking hipster glasses, and he is explaining his attempt to make something that will grant human beings immortality. So I will play his opening narration here.
My dream is for the future of this planet to live forever. Here we are, day 3003. The effects seem stable enough to begin human testing in the next few weeks. I am extremely pleased with the results.
My days are long. To be honest, I can't really tell the difference between night and day any longer. But it'll all be worth it in the end. As you can see, the chemical is binding more strongly than ever before. And its longevity has grown exponentially. Question is, do we continue to see how long it will last? Or do we start the testing now? It seems safe.
Safe enough, but whether or not it's sustainable, that's what's keeping me up nights. More tomorrow.
Is death just an illusion? Imagine what we could achieve when our time is limitless. When our vision of the world has no boundaries. Maybe then the universe will awaken and there will be a new beginning.
Now, that's virtually the first thing that happens in the movie. You see, now it's all in black and white. It's very stylized. It's beautiful in terms of its look. But that's the first thing. And as you can just hear it in the audio that this is a movie that is very stylistic and is playing around with, you're seeing him talking into the camera, then you're seeing him in actual person. That's why the audio kind of gets a little, like radio and fuzzy, and then it comes back to crisp.
Yeah. And
then you see it like a universe
exploding.
So
and this is all played dead serious, right?
Dead serious. So you immediately get the sense this dialogue happens within the first 5 minutes of the movie. It is virtually the first thing you see. You see a lot of kind of land, and it looks like California desert, that type of thing, which is, I'm sure, where it was filmed, or someplace that was very rocky and deserted, maybe Arizona. And you see like starbursts in the sky and all this kind of, universe type stuff. And then you get this explanation. And in there, you can tell that he is, I don't know what's his name. I don't remember what the character's name is. The last name is Pierce, I'm assuming, because that's what the last name of Stephen Dorff, who's his son, is. You see that he has two sons. One is blonde, one is dark haired, that are playing in the background as he's doing this testing. He appears to be frail. He coughs. We find out he's sick or he's dying or something. And so this is the opening for the film where we get this, and you clearly hear him struggling with whether it's, going to be something they should start testing on people. And he has this very optimistic view of what will happen if this stuff works. He says, if we live forever, everything we can do, blah, 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 all this stuff. So then we cut to later, and now we see, it's still the same planet, and we, get this. Then we see these two asteroids, meteors, magical teleportation pods, whatever. Two of these things crash down on planet Earth. And they crash down, and then two people, which are the brothers that are mentioned in that, who I assume must be aliens. We never are told that, but nothing else makes any damn sense. Although I don't think this movie is necessarily overly concerned with whether it makes sense or not. They could very well be from the future for all I know. But the one character says, now that they're human beings, they feel things differently, which makes me think they've got to be aliens. So, or they're robots or whatever. Anyway, they come out of the Earth.
Maybe they're angels, Joe.
Sure. Possible. Well, you know what? It would fit with what's going to come later. They could be. But anyway, the two of them come out of the ground and they start walking towards this very Tony Stark looking house. And it's out in the middle of, again, nowhere. And we cut to the inside and we see Stephen Dorff working on a computer with a beautiful young woman behind him who is trying to get him to stop typing on his keys and start applying some work to her hard drive or whatever. And while he's typing, just before the two of them start having sex, we hear a commercial. Now we're in the present, apparently, or whatever the present is, later than the stuff we saw earlier. Some time has passed, a significant amount of time, because he's now grown up and he's, I don't know, whatever Stephen Dorff's actual age is. So now we hear a commercial featuring Dorff that he watches in the background just before he starts having sex with his girlfriend, and this is the commercial.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Pierce here, and I have some wonderful news for you. World's Administration reports Divinity, with its miracle anti-aging ingredients, is the only clinical proven formula for its effectiveness in longevity and actually reducing the formation of decay. That's right, lifetime protection, folks.
Peter. Stronger. Faster. Infinity.
In that commercial, we see lots of different people, and there is a uniform appearance for all of them. The women are gorgeous and supermodel thin and have perfect hair and perfect skin and are just the exactly what you would put as a stereotypical supermodel looking woman. And all the men look like bodybuilders with perfect faces and hair and everything. So the idea is, and it's not just the idea of the commercial, but we find out this is actually what happens is, if you take this stuff, you become either a ripped Arnold Schwarzenegger looking man or a supermodel woman. Because we see throughout the rest of the movie, anytime anybody else is
hold on. So if I take this drug, I might become a supermodel woman?
No. You will become, for men okay. Become, yes, no. Well, okay. Honestly, it's never specifically said, so it's possible. You're going to become.
Listen, a supermodel woman would be an upgrade for me, I suppose.
Well, I was going to say you will become the idealized, the American idealized version of whichever gender you end up being in this world. Based on everything we see, that is true. You take this drug, unlike most advertising, what they say will happen. It
does do it. Got it.
It does do it. So the two of them are now having sex. And in the background, the two brothers break into the house, and they're kind of wandering around looking at things in the house as these two have sex. They're not very concerned with doing things quickly. But finally, they break into the room and they essentially tase. It's not a taser. They use something else, but they tase.
I can't figure out whether this movie looks like a stupid movie or it's meant to be like if it's like a serious movie. Like it looks
Well, I don't think it's stupid.
It looks absurd in the trailer.
Well, yes. I think that my speculation, knowing nothing else, is that this is a person who was only concerned with getting their vision of this idea made in the version they want, and they don't care about anything else. So I don't think it ever comes off as stupid, but yet absurd or surrealistic, certainly, because it is not reality. At no point does this feel like reality.
Okay, you know what? I've just seen everything I need. The director and I guess the creator of the movie showed up for the Sundance release of it.
Yes.
Dressed up as some kind of creature character.
Oh, hold on. Let me see. Eddie Alcazar Sundance? Hold on.
Yeah. With Bella Thorne. Can you see it? He looks like Scorpius.
Hold on. Oh yeah! Look at wow.
That's not what he looks like, by the way.
Well, that is fitting. Wow, is that Steven Dorff? Jeez, look at Steven Dorff. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah. Well,
that says everything I need to know. Go on.
Yeah. So that is fitting with the movie, though, which I'll get to. So if this was to promote the movie, that makes a lot of sense. So the two brothers break in, and they tase Steven Dorff, and they grab what we are made to understand is a newly finalized, perfected version of Divinity. Which, even though they're selling it, apparently there's something that he was still working on that he's been able to. It's unclear. It kind of waffles. It doesn't really matter. Whatever. They get a very concentrated form of Divinity that he has just manufactured, and they hook him up to it, and they just start pumping it into him. And once he comes to and realizes that, he starts to panic and is telling them, "You can't give this to me raw in this raw form, or it's going to kill me. You have to dilute it." And basically starts pleading with them and saying, you don't know who you've kidnapped here. You don't know. He thinks he's dealing with just simple intruders, right? So they have this back and forth where he's talking about the dosage. And then they say something to him at the end, which your comment about them being angels, just pay attention to the end of this, because you might be more right than you know. I don't know, but I'll play this where he's kind of telling them that you keep giving me this stuff and you're going to kill me.
Yeah. What's going to happen is, if you don't disconnect this from me right now, you're both going to jail for murder. Is that what you want? Is it?
You said this is good for you.
That container is pure concentrate. It still needs to be diluted into normal doses. A normal amount is a fraction of that. Is a fraction.
But you don't seem like a normal fellow.
You're not getting it, okay? This amount will kill me, okay? I will die. You will go to jail unless you untie me now.
We know where this comes from and how it's made. But that can be our little secret, okay?
No, you don't. You don't.
It's that thing about we know where it comes from and we know how it's made.
It comes from me?
No, I think he said, I think what he's saying is we know where it comes from and we know how it's made. I just think it's the accent of the actor. I'm pretty sure. I had the subtitles on, so I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
All right.
But yeah, because it would not make sense for it to be me. It wouldn't make any sense when I get to the part of how it's actually made. So no, I think what he's saying, I'm pretty sure what the subtitle said was, we know where it comes from and we know how it's made. The part that doesn't make sense is when they say, that'll be our little secret for now, because that does not jive at all with what happens later. But again,
yeah.
I don't know that this is not a movie where
that was just stylized commentary for that moment.
I got to understand very quickly that in this movie, I don't really need to pay attention too much to the logic, in specifics. The broad stuff is fine. So they've got him hooked up. They restrain him again, and they see a commercial for. Sorry. In between this, we then cut to Bella Thorne, who is leading a group. I was about to say cult, but I don't know if that's really correct. She's leading a congregation. There's the better word. A congregation of what are described as pure women. And she's talking about the fact that the reproductive rate of the planet has dropped by 97%. And that it's because people are taking Divinity. and that they're not having children. But later we find out that the reproductive rate of the planet was already dropping. So there's, again, some kind of logical conflicts here where I'm not sure if it's just sloppy because the guy, because he's the writer and director, I don't know that he really necessarily cared.
Is it just what they believed, or
Possibly.
Is it what's actually happening?
It's hard to say, because once you get to the end, you get kind of a left field okay type of thing. So whatever. So anyway, the two brothers see this commercial for an escort service with these women who are basically prostitutes. And they dial one up and they say, come on over.
So in the middle of murdering this guy,
well,
with
apparently
experimental drugs.
It does take a while before he finally becomes what he becomes, because he does not die. That what he turns into and what happens once he does is its own movie almost.
I've seen the pictures, but I've seen the pictures.
Oh, watch the fight. If you can find it online, look for, let's see, is it there? Divinity Final Fight 2023. Let's see. Did they have this thing online? Because it's so insane. Please tell me somebody has a clip. Damn. No. I don't think it. Oh, wait. No, these are all just trailers. I wish you could see.
I'll keep looking.
Yeah, if you could find it, I'll describe it. But anyway, so yes, they're giving him this thing, and they don't really say what their goal is. There's never really a clear idea of what their goal is throughout the entire movie. I could not tell. But anyway, they decide to take a break as he's slowly being doped up and starts to physically transform. So it happens over a set of stages. At first, there's a picture where you might find him where his forehead's kind of Hulk looking.
Yeah.
That's like the first stage where it's just his forehead. So they ring up this prostitute, and she stops by. And she's very, very philosophical and very new agey, and she decides to have a nice, she's talking about, I want you to consume me in every way. And so first they have this big banquet where they're just like shoving meat into their face, and she's just sitting there watching them. And then they have this big threesome where they're, she's like just doing all kinds of, it's like a total sensual experience, right? Okay, fine. So then they're laying there, and at one point they're sleeping. She gets up and she starts wandering around the house, and she finds Steven Dorff, who started to transform, and he's like, you have to let me go. They've kidnapped me. And she starts to untie him because she sees this and goes, oh, this doesn't look right. And then for some reason, which this feels like a very clumsy way of defining Steven Dorff's character as an asshole, he suddenly starts yelling, hurry up, you fucking whore, you bitch. Like, he just suddenly flips out on a woman who, when he was being calm, was helping him out.
Yeah, they're trying to imply that he's really an asshole. Well,
and he is, but you didn't. It was such a 0 to 60 type of thing that what would have been better.
Well, could it also be the fact that he's on these drugs?
It could also be the fact that the director doesn't care. But sure, let's say this. It is possible. You know what? You make a good point. The drugs might be because they are enhancing they are making him ripped. So maybe it is a testosterone thing. So that's possible. You might be right. Maybe it is the rapid hormone flux is doing that. That's very possible. So actually, you've kind of explained away one of my logic problems. That makes sense. So anyway, he flips out before he's fully untied, and she gets scared and backs off of him. And then the brothers show up, and they basically re-restrain him. And then we find out that his brother, who we had seen in the earlier video with Scott Bakula, at one point his brother keeps trying to call him. And I wasn't clear on who it was for a little while. And then I realized, because his brother has clearly taken Divinity. I mean, this dude, is there a picture of this guy? Because I don't know if this person is, what's his name? His name is Rip Pierce, Michael O'Hearn. Okay. All right. He is a bodybuilder. Look up on the Divinity page, click on Michael O'Hearn, because this is actually a perfect example of what everyone in this movie looks like.
Wait, I did see him. He's huge.
Yeah, okay. That's how every man that we see in the movie who's not Steven Dorff or these brothers looks. And one guy who is the servant of his brother also looks like kind of like Riff Raff from Rocky Horror, kind of. But those are the only males we see who are not ripped specimens. And all the women look like Bella Thorne.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to look like that guy.
Let me tell you, some of the guys in this movie look like they are action figures. They are amazing looking. I was feeling tired looking at them for how much work they must have to do. Because when I tell you they don't look real, they don't look real. But anyway, that's the point. The movie that is the point. So, and in fact, Bella Thorne's group of women can materialize out of the thin air somehow. We never find out how. You see their skeletons first, Dr. Manhattan style, and then they form.
Oh, yeah, I
them.
saw the trailer, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. They never explain. It doesn't matter. They form, and they actually capture Stephen Dorff's, the woman he was having sex with, because she runs in fear, naked in the desert, and they get her, and they recruit her into their cause. Completely consensually, from what we can tell. She does not appear to fight it. So they do seem to be able to just talk people into this, because she does not appear coerced.
Holy
and she seems fine. What?
That guy Michael O'Hearn, you know how old he is?
How old? 50-something?
He's 51.
Yeah, he looks great.
He looks amazing.
He looks amazing. He's probably had some work done, but if not, holy shit. Great genes.
I'm sure he's done something.
Whatever he's
done.
done.
Blood of virgins, yeah.
Whatever he's done.
Hard work in the blood of virgins. Go ahead.
It's working for him, is all I'm saying. Because, man, I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, if I could take a drip of something and look like that, I might think about it. But anyway, so in the movie, as I said, they captured him and they tie him back up, and the girlfriend escapes, gets put into or becomes part of the group of super pure women. And so the prostitute is there, and she's talking to the brothers, and she clearly has an attraction to one of them more than the other, which seems to bother the other one a bit, but it never becomes a big thing like I thought it was going to. But she definitely has she's more into one of the brothers because they're not twins, so she's more into one than the other. And then they realize that all these people are showing up at the house for the birthday party for Stephen Dorff's character. And they're very panicky about that, but it doesn't really seem to matter because everybody shows up and nobody seems to notice that Stephen Dorff isn't even there, which I don't know if is intentional commentary, because what you start to realize is Bakula in that opening said, oh, once we can live forever, think of the things we'll achieve. But we see that almost everybody who takes divinity, it's almost like an inverse Wall-E, where instead of becoming fat slobs, they become perfect, bored human beings who just party and live in excess.
Yeah, they don't actually. Yes,
right.
Yes. And that is the statement, is that the number of people that, if tomorrow you had a drug like this, right? The number of people who would then take that drug and say, I'm going to Mars, or I'm gonna explore the world. I'm gonna go on I'm gonna dedicate my life to, any number of things, right?
Right.
Is actually quite slim. Is that most people, when given that kind of power, are there's going to be a party phase.
Right. Oh yeah.
And they're all immortal. Is that what you're saying?
As far as we can tell, that's what's said, and that's what appears to be the truth, because they talk about somebody who's the brother, because Stephen Dorff, as far as I can tell, did not take divinity at all, because he looks older. But the brother looks like he looks in the pictures you saw. They don't look the same age. It looks like one basically stopped wherever he started taking divinity, and the other one didn't take it. But in the midst of all this, then we get another flashback to Bakula, who is now further along in the process. So I believe this is Dorff is remembering this, because he's starting to hallucinate a bit, and we get this memory.
Day 3,109. Miraculous day. The compound is held up over 7 full months, and our trials finally can begin tomorrow. Both physical and mental attributes appear equal. The key is in the fetal tissue that has remained unaffected by the environment. Preserving that result is paramount in retaining pure longevity. Meanwhile, the brain, on the other hand, is a completely different story. We have to constantly and rapidly replenish the telomeres so that brain function can keep up with the body's rejuvenation. They both must interconnect with each other to finish the process. The good news is, I believe I have found the solution.
Shortly after this, Bakula has some kind of either heart attack or whatever and dies in front of his kids, who are still pretty young. And we find out that actually he never solved whatever that last thing was. He could never get the formula solved. And up until this point, where Dorf had been talking about his father very positively, he then starts to refer to his father as a failure and that he was weak and that he fucking hates him and he could never complete it and he left us behind and he died young and he couldn't even finish what all this work that they'd taken away from, that kept him away from them. And and this is what I mean about they could have built this up slower. They could have revealed this a little bit more smoothly, but Dorf, we find out, is in fact probably a major league asshole. Well, we'll find out for sure he is later. But that his father died and did not actually finish the process, could not achieve the immortality result that he had wanted to. But Dorf seems to have done it. But there is a mention in there about fetal tissue. And that will come back to what the guy said about, we know how this is made. We know how you're doing this. And that we'll get to shortly.
Oh, are they consuming babies?
Well, you're close. They are extracting information from fetuses that are stopped from growing past a certain point of being embryos. So they're alive, but they stop them from ever becoming bigger. I don't know. They never specify, but from the size of them, they couldn't be more than, I want to say 3 months old. And that's where they stop them and just freeze. They're alive and they're just basically held there in whatever state that is and never move past that. But in the meantime, the party ends. Again, nobody notices that Dorf's not there. They just all party and they leave, which again, I think is supposed to be intentional, that they don't even care. They're just there to party and look at each other and consume divinity and then leave. So everybody leaves. And then we see the prostitute goes to the one brother. I don't want to just refer to her as the prostitute. What was her actual name? I think
is that Bella Thorne?
No, it's a young black woman, I believe. What is hold on, I think her name is Vida, maybe. I still want to keep calling her the prostitute. That just bothers me. She is... Where is her name? Oh, no. No, that's not Bella Thorne. Where is... Oh, here she is. Nikita. That would be her. Nikita. Yes, that's almost certainly that's her. So I'm going to say it's Nikita. So Nikita goes to the brother that she's into, and basically they have this little discussion, and there's an important plot point that comes up that explains why Bella Thorne has her menagerie of pure women and why they are different from everybody else. And that's this little discussion between Nikita and, I'll say brother number 2. I don't care about the brothers' names. That doesn't, they're close enough, it doesn't matter. So brother number 2 and Nikita have this little back and forth.
There's something about you. You're different than your brother.
You're also different. I sense no trace of the chemical in your body.
I'm still pure. One of the few left on this planet able to still give birth.
Is that something you desire?
My whole life. But here it's either live forever or give life. But most people here choose forever. Pleasure over love.
Love.
And pleasure.
So we get the little informational bit that divinity basically causes sterility. Even though, like I said, there's the final clip I have will have Dorf saying that there was already a problem with nobody giving birth, which you would think that might be an issue. But I guess if everybody lives forever, who cares? Maybe that is how people would be. They'd be like, well, I don't care if there's anybody else because I'm never going to die. So whatever. So we get this little back and forth and we find out. And again, they say we can't find a trace of the chemical. So they are obviously some kind of non-terrestrial life form. Why they took human form, what their ultimate goal is difficult to say outside
unless they're immortals from the future.
Sure. Again, well, we'll get to the end because your angels thing might actually be, maybe that was what that was supposed to be. So at this point now, Dorf has become the Hulk. He has completely, I don't even think it's Steven Dorff. I'm sure they got a bodybuilder and put prosthetics on him because this guy is immense. And he's completely indistinguishable. His face is all misshapen, so you wouldn't even need Dorff to be in the body anymore. You might do voiceover, might not even do that, because he even sounds like the Hulk, kind of. So he is now immense. Somehow unable to break out of his chair until the very end, where he makes Michael O'Hearn look small by the end. So I don't know how he didn't destroy that chair about 5 hours ago. But anyway, Michael O'Hearn shows back up, finds Dorff, gets beaten to death by the two brothers, which I really didn't expect. I thought when that fight started, he was going to kill at least one of them. He does shoot one of them mortally, and it happens to be brother number 2, the one that was special. But then they beat him, and they beat his face until it is basically a wet tomato and kill him. Dorf then breaks out. The one brother dies and becomes, I don't know, effervescent vapor that the other brother inhales into his body. So he basically inhales his spirit, and now they're both in one body, even though it just functions as brother number 1. But brother number 2 is now dead. He just vanishes after his breath essence goes into the other brother, and he just vanishes. So then Stephen Dorff breaks out, this
is Superdorf.
Superdorf, yeah. But right before Superdorf breaks out, Nikita is wandering around and finds this control panel. And there's a blinking light. Why this light would be blinking that does this is never explained. It makes no sense. But again, plot. And she presses the button, and we get a big exposition. Now, this is in the last 20 minutes of the movie, that we finally get a real explanation of what Dorff's been doing, how he solved the problem, and we get an explanation for a couple of things. So I'll just play this entire bit here. But it really is kind of, I think, the main, here's what the movie is of this whole thing.
My father was a bright man with a weak body. I loved him during the short time we had together. But in the end, he was a failure. A weak man with a dream. So I had to put all my efforts into action and finish what he started. Yes, it may not be his vision, but now it's my vision. My vision. And the world will be better for it. He never made the breakthrough that would fix divinity. It was up to me to bring this product to this next level. The old man was right, though. The answer did lie in the fetal tissue. The ultimate sacrifice has been made by those too young to have thoughts or memories. Because through my research, I found that the solution can only be made from early embryonic stages. Thousands of doses can be created from just one fetus. But the tissue needed to be living. So the eggs had to be fertilized and developed into fetuses in a delicate and controlled environment for the correct extraction to be made. To have eggs donated normally wouldn't be an issue, but these needed to be living beings. And finding and fertilizing suitable hosts for the fetal tissue was not easy. Not in a world with a 97% infertility rate. Assuring cooperation of the host was even harder, and involved creating novel mental controlled compounds. We now have to ask the question, what is ethical and what isn't? Most people would question all these choices I had to make, choices my father was afraid to make. But they won't question the effectiveness of this new divinity. Not when it saves their lives. True immortality of both body and mind. Who can question that?
And that's the whole layout that Dorff is a megalomaniac who, I really like the fact that he starts off saying he was a good man with a weak body, and then within 60 seconds says he was a weak man who was a failure. Like, he just jumps right to it. So you get all the psychology, and they're showing the sounds and everything is them showing it. At the very end of it, she hits a button and she opens this secret case, and you see all these little fetuses that are being held in like stasis. And when he's talking about novel mind control techniques, what wasn't in the audio is you see this video of him. I don't know if he grew these women or if he just kidnapped women who all looked alike. Either one is plausible in this scenario. But he has them all basically, he's wiping their minds and making them, because that opening, the woman is so desperate to have sex with him. So I think what we're meant to take from that is these are his babies that he's freezing in place. Or, well, not his and these women's fetuses that he is producing. And I think that's why the guy says, we know how you're making it. We know where it's coming from. It's because it's coming from him. Literally, he is the fountain of youth for all these people. And all these women are basically in giant tubes and they're being mind wiped and all this shit. And then they come out loving him and wanting to be all over him. And then at that point, that's right. And then right after that is when he breaks out. And then he and the remaining brother number 1, start chasing and punching each other around the desert. But it's done in a Ray Harryhausen stop motion style. So I'm not kidding. That's exactly what it is. Because at first I didn't know what I thought. Oh, is the video stuttering? Because I rented this off Amazon, so I didn't know if there was a problem. And then I realized, no. This is a stylistic choice. They are fighting in stop motion literal Ray Harryhausen style, where it is not at all unclear what's going on. And so they fight, and they finally get to, they're fighting up a cliff. And then he appears to kill brother number 1. At which point, you remember at the end of Dark Crystal where the kings appear and they're those phantoms, they're all in white and they're kind of, float. All right.
Yeah.
Imagine
they all join up and become the super beings.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine 2 of those super beings, except they're just bald guys. But they have these long kind of flowing tails instead of the legs coming off. And they're floating there and he becomes transfixed with them and he goes to reach for them, at which point he falls off the cliff and detonates into just gore. And then the last thing you see is his mouth, literally his teeth and his gums and a tongue. And he says, "Oh, it feels great," and then dies. And then the 2 phantom brothers shoot up into the sky and become stars. And then you see like the universe explodes and there's star fields and all this shit. And then it cuts to credits and that's the end of the movie. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, wait, there was one. I forgot. Sorry. I forgot one thing. So right before the Starfield blow up stuff, we cut to Bella Thorne. Her group Nikita is pregnant because the brother got her pregnant when they slept together. And so they don't grab her. They find her and they take her in and she's now giving birth within, 2 days. And they're like, "Oh yeah, push." And the baby comes out and the baby is not a baby. The baby is a tree, a little like bonsai sized tree with some kind of organic dirt. And underneath the dirt are these big tentacles like flopping around. And right then they all kind of celebrate it. They're all like kind of worshiping it. And it cuts to color for a second. And then we get the credits and everything comes on. It just cuts the credits. So again, I don't think this movie is meant to make total sense front to back. This is definitely a experience film. I really liked it. I don't know that I'm going to buy it, but I would probably rent it again because I do really like the way it's filmed. The black and white works really well. The visuals are really strong. It's just a bit odd. But I also, in the back of my mind, have a hunch that this movie will grow on me the more I watch it. This feels like something that the more I watch it, the more I'm going to like it because it is out there, but it also feels very specific. It feels like somebody really had this idea that they wanted to make and they made it. And I'm always a fan of that. And it's never boring. It's a bit confusing at times. I will say that because, again, all the logic doesn't really line up. You don't really get an explanation of what the brothers were or why they showed up. Were aliens upset that he was using babies? Or were they upset that humans were becoming lazy? Or were they just bored?
Or they were worried that they were worried he was about to perfect the drug and screw up the universe because you'd have immortal humans who didn't give a shit. Maybe they were in the process of trying to stop humans from becoming immortal and having immortal brains.
Sure. It doesn't really matter. This is my kind of bottom line review of this. You don't come into this movie for the story. The story is very simple. I mean, that plot I just laid out is not really all that original. It's Dr. Frankenstein by a different method or whatever. Monkey's Paw, Fountain of Youth, whatever stuff. Like, there's nothing really groundbreaking in the movie. This is more about the style and the fact that this feels like it reminds me a lot of the movie I reviewed, what was it called? Jesus Showed Me the Way to the Highway, which it's not a movie you watch and you go, oh yeah, the story makes sense. You watch it because you're sitting here and you're getting almost in a very David Lynch way, a very specific artistic vision. And like I said, I kept thinking of heavy metal. I kept thinking, oh, this is one of those stories in heavy metal that has a really beautiful art style, but you don't really remember much of it.
Yeah, but it's pretty simplified. And it's like, maybe 10 pages long.
Exactly. A short story that's like a filler story that they just found somebody who had
not
a really
the main
cool
one,
technique.
but one of the secondary ones. Yeah.
Yeah, or almost something like what is it? Cowboy. What's the Jeff Darrow series? I'm forgetting. Shogun Cowboy.
Shaolin Cowboy. Yeah.
Shaolin Cowboy. That's it. Yeah, where I don't. Those comics don't really make sense, but that's not really why you're reading.
But they're beautiful to look at.
Yeah, and that's this. Where I don't know what this guy's background is. I know he's made short films. I don't know if he came up in music videos or whatever. But there's a very specific look. American film director and screenwriter, game producer. It doesn't really say. Yeah, I mean, none of this. He did a sci-fi short film called "Fuck You" with a bunch of extra letters in it, which was shot in 16 millimeter. So, this is it. Although being narratively ambiguous and cryptic, the artistic duo released an official synopsis of the short, it being the story of a girl who travels through time to connect with her past self. Sure. Yeah.
What?
So ambiguous, narratively ambiguous and cryptic. I think that's this guy's lane in life. I think that's where he's comfortable. Not getting too mired down in whether it all makes sense, but setting up the visuals and the set pieces that he wants to shoot. And in that way, it works very well. There are several really visually interesting scenes in this thing. There's one where he basically does the Blade Runner eye effect on the brothers at points. And it looks really cool in black and white. I really am glad this is not in color. I think it would lose a lot. The fact that it's in this very specific kind of black and white makes it really interesting. The soundtrack's really good. It's not, I don't even know if you could buy it. I don't know if there's enough there to release it necessarily. You hear little bits and pieces of it, but I like it. It's big and it's very over the top.
Will you go seek out other movies by this person?
Yeah, I would watch the short film. Certainly. Yeah, I would watch other stuff of his. I don't know if he's made any other movies besides this. This might be his only film. That's not a short, I mean. Let's see, here he is on IMDb. Did he do anything other than shorts before this? Let's see. If his page ever loads. Oh, good grief. Come on, really? Hold on. Let me go backwards. The original search should have it. Come on. Back button. There it is. Okay. IMDb. So this is... Let's see, story he wrote, that's short, based on a story by, but here's another short where he wrote it, Perfect from 2018. He directed it, and he co-wrote it. Garrett, an emotionally troubled young man, is sent to a clinic whispering soothing promises of perfection. By planting characteristics directly into his own body, he's relieved of his dark visions, but pays the price for purity of mind. I don't know what that means. Okay. Yeah, it looks like this guy makes weird sci-fi stuff, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, I think I'll watch Fuck You, because that's basically how I would pronounce what that is. It's got 3 Ks and 3 Us on Fuck You all together with no spaces. It's 9 minutes long. I could probably watch it before the show's over. It's in black and white. So interesting. So this is his. Yeah, this looks like a setup for this movie. Some of these images look almost the same. But the woman, there's a picture, if you look up the Fuck You short, it's hysterical to say that, there's a woman who's materializing from what looks like a skeleton. So clearly he has his visual things. There's a guy who looks exactly like how he was dressed at Sundance. So, okay, this guy has his things. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to...
Eventually, faced with rejection, she struggles with identity and gender as time folds onto itself. Only one of them... Oh, so apparently she multiplies. Let's see, are there any reviews of it? No, I'll seek it out. Sure. Well, it's got a 6.2 out of 10. It's not bad. They don't think it sucks. So I would say, I'm trying to think of something that's similar to that. Almost, you know what, the Phil Tippett Mad God thing? This feels like that, where Mad God doesn't...
No, this sounds far more logical than Mad God.
Well, and that's what, but Mad God does have a story. There is, you can connect the dots on a story, but it's not really important. And that's the same here, where even though, yes, there is technically more narrative in terms of exposition that's given, it doesn't necessarily make sense from the point A to point B. And I don't think that matters. I think it's very much about atmosphere and feeling and environment and visuals. And I'm okay with that when it works like this. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I could say about it. So don't come in here expecting, and again, if you're coming in here because you're expecting to see a lot of Scott Bakula, Stephen Dorff, or Bella Thorne, my clips are most of them. Well, I didn't even have any Bella Thorne. She gives 2 little speeches, and then you see her a couple of times in quick things. But I guarantee, no guarantee, I would be shocked. Bakula's screen time, probably 5 minutes tops, total. Dorff might hit 10, might. But these are quick hits. Most of the time is with the brothers and Nikita, and then a lot of visuals. And then Dorff, it becomes a man monster. So I don't even think that's him anymore. So the end doesn't even count. You know, there's a certain point where you can't see his face anymore. It's just, he almost looks like a giant penis, his head, which made me think of Dead or Alive Final, where there is literally a giant penis head robot. So I started to think, oh boy, this guy watched Dead or Alive and Final and really like it, because it sure looks like this guy has got a penis for a head at the end, which again could be symbolic. I don't know. Or it might just be accidental, or, you know, one of those things where it's a Freudian slip. So I don't know. But $5 on Amazon, I certainly think it was worth $5. Again, I'm on the fence whether I'm going to buy it. I probably will, because again, I sort of want to rewatch it again already because I enjoyed the visuals.
Did you rent it?
I did. I rented it from Amazon. Yeah.
Well, you have 24 hours. You can watch it again.
No, I have less than that because I didn't end up starting it as quickly as I wanted to, and
okay.
then I used up some of the I had to capture the clips, so I essentially did watch it twice. But I also would want to watch it. There's a commentary, I think, on the Vinegar Syndrome release for it. I think. Hold on, I want to see that. Vinegar Syndrome. There's some extras on it which might be interesting. And that's where I'm kind of like, yeah, I might be kind of curious what this person's thought process is when they do something like this. You know, what is I think he is on it. Here we go. Some of the extras on this actually make me kind of want it. One is The Midnight Movie is Dead, an hour-long audio conversation between the writer, director, and Soderbergh about making cult films or making movies that are not for, you know, general audiences. There's a video essay by author and film historian about the movie, behind the scenes footage.
I read a review. I was looking around to see if I could find any information about this movie.
Sure.
And I read there was a general consensus amongst reviewers, different people, that what makes this movie kind of special is that it is a very individualistic sci-fi art cult film made in a time where everything is either, you know, broke ass or a major blockbuster in a series. And that to have a movie like this, which isn't broke ass, right? It has talent in it and looks good.
And it is made very well.
Yeah, is refreshing. It's not great, but it is refreshing.
And I think that is the appeal of it to me too, is that it I mean,
you know what?
I
Gary
think its box office
Gary
was
Oldman would show up
$108,000 total.
Gary Oldman would show up in a movie like this.
Yes. You know? I could see Gary Oldman playing the Bakula part.
Yeah, a bit character.
You know?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That's what I mean. Is it does, and that I did think of David Lynch a little bit because,
or Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe would show up in a movie.
Willem Dafoe would have been great for Bakula's part too. Sure. Yeah. You know what? The Lighthouse. It reminds me of something like The Lighthouse, which is another film that has a very specific. It's shot in this very old format. You've never seen Lighthouse, right?
No, I haven't.
Boy, you should at some point. I'd be very interested in your interpretation of that film. But that movie is shot in a antiquated, it's this weird, it's not even 4:3, it's something else, but it's of the time that's supposed to be set in.
Yeah.
And it's also in black and white, but it's also in this weird format that doesn't look right to a modern. I can see people who wouldn't understand even what they're looking at. But it's shot in, what is the filming? Okay, let's see. A 1:33:1 aspect ratio to capture. Oh, no, I'm sorry. When someone suggested as a joke using 1:19:1, which was used very shortly right when film went to sound, they determined that they would actually use it. So they used basically a 30s aspect ratio that it's weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It's this very specific. It's not quite 4:3. It's slightly different. And that's this, although this is shot in widescreen, but that black and white, the way it's filmed. Like I said, there's a lot to recommend about it. It's just the narrative is loose. I don't want to say it's sloppy. I just don't know that that's the point.
Well, I mean, this guy is not a writer. He's a director.
Correct.
So,
or more to the point, maybe he's not a writer who's so concerned about. I mean, there are people who write things that are intentionally beguiling. So maybe the idea is that you're supposed to interpret things. Like when you said angels, that never even occurred to me. But it doesn't. It fits. That could be what these things are. I actually can't tell you for sure that that's not completely accurate. And yet it never even occurred to me because I was so locked into the bizarre sci-fi angle. Like I was thinking heavy metal the whole time. So it never even occurred to me to go spiritual with it. But the way they appear at the end, the way they show up, the way that they act. I mean, except the fact that
I guess it's left open so that you can go whichever way you want with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So your interpretation could be correct. And that's what I mean about, I don't know that the story is meant to be concrete. You know, it may be very similar to, say, something like Solaris, the original, that it's not really meant to be literal that way. I don't know. Like I said, I've talked about it enough, and I think about it. Like the visuals are in my head.
Yeah.
And there is something about it. So while I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, it's certainly not a general audience film by any stretch of the imagination. I would say if you appreciate something that is a what appears to be, I'll say it this way, not knowing everything, but what appears to be a very pure expression of somebody's idea, however well-formed or completely crafted the idea is, in that sense, it's very successful. I think it's very watchable. It's only 88 minutes long, too. It's short. It's not 3 hours of overindulgent nonsense. You know, I don't think you could stretch this far beyond where it was because I don't think there's enough story.
You aren't on hour 4 of his artistic vision, yeah.
Right. You know, so in much the same way that I loved every bit of what I earlier mentioned, the Apocalypse tetralogy, which was 4 films of this one person's vision of the world he was living in. I love this very short single capsule expression of somebody, of this idea. Again, however well thought out it might be or however flawed it may be, it does feel very specific and unique. And I'm always going to be drawn to that. So I would say, yeah, for $5, give it a shot. It's not going to take up much of your time. And you probably will know inside the first, because I often talk about the first 10 to 15 minutes. You're probably going to know in the first 10 to 15 minutes whether this is for you or not. And if it isn't, then you're out $5. And I'm sorry if I misled you for $5. But I think for that cheap, not like these ones where you got to pay $20 to see it, then I wouldn't say, no, you should make sure it's for you first. $5, most people, $5 is worth a roll of the dice on a movie.
It's doable.
Yeah, watch the trailer. Now, I will say that the trailer shows a lot of the commercial. So they pack a lot of that really kinetic, vibrant imagery. That's from the Divinity commercial. The movie is not all that rapid fire and kinetic as the trailer might make it out to be. There are long moments of kind of quiet scenes where there's exposition and dialogue with people. It's not all hyper, super energetic the way that trailer is. I'm kind of glad. I think that amount of overload would probably wear thin. So I like the fact that the movie does slow down at times. And there are those, energized moments, but it's not just that beginning to end. This is not Electric Dragon 50,000 volts, in other words. Or Tetsuo the Iron Man, where it's like, blah, 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 and there's just shit going on everywhere, which I like those movies. But you kind of got to fasten your brain in for that. Yeah, and you have to be in the mood for those. You know what I mean? You can't just wander into Tetsuo the Iron Man, or even Electric Dragon. Like, you have to be ready for the fact that movie is going to start whipsawing around on your brain really hard, and it's not going to stop for a while. This movie has its pace comes and goes in, I think, what is a very fitting manner. So, and there are very beautiful shots in it. And I read some reviews. I will say this as a final kind of summation, because I do think this was unfair. There are people who are talking about how cheap the effects were. I think they were referring to the final fight, and I don't think they understood that was a choice. I think
the Harry Howe.
Yeah, I think people thought that was just shot badly. And
they were attempting something surreal.
Yeah, I think they realized on the budget they likely had that there was no way to frame that fight the way they wanted to, or the way he wanted to. And so he elected to do this. And I think it works fine, because it's not like this movie ever feels like it's grounded in reality. So whatever. Go for it, man. Why not? So yes, I really enjoyed Divinity. And now the more I talk about it, the more I will probably buy it when I buy Black Cat 1 and 2. I will probably just go ahead and buy it, because I do like to support this type of stuff. Sometimes wacko artistic visions are not good. But I think this one is successful in what it wants to be. And I like to support things like that. So I'm glad I rented it. I will probably buy it. And I would say that...
Especially now, yeah. You've talked yourself into it.
I have. And unlike Apocalypse Tetralogy, that's a rare case where I bought something and loved every single bit of it.
I would give it a week. Give it a week.
Okay, I'll give it a week.
And see if you need to see it again. Because I think sometimes with movies like this... Because I had a period of time where I was watching a lot of art films, and I always wanted to buy them, right? And what I realized is that there's so much more to watch, right? There are some movies that are really great for what they are when they entered your mind, and unless there's a nagging question about what you just saw, then keep going.
Yeah, you might be right. I'll wait a week. I can wait.
Or it's a movie that delights you to such an extent that just, having it brings you joy and you watch it all the time. But this seems, I find mostly with art films like this, you watch them, you experience them, watch it a second time if you've really got a need to answer a question. But otherwise, move on, because there's a lot more to watch.
And where I was going was to say, I would not recommend buying this outright without renting it first. Because I think I'm glad I did not just blindly buy it. Like I said, that's why I was saying the Apocalypse thing, that's a rare event where I bought something sight unseen and holy shit did it pay off. That is rare. So this, especially because it's a cheaper film to rent. For a new movie, $5 is cheap now, because most of them are $20. Even to just watch them once, which is asinine. But this is $5. So I would say it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on a couple other places.
Listen. I think it all comes down to this. Support your weirdos.
Support weirdos. Watch the trailer. If it looks at all interesting, spend the $5 in the 88 minutes. And by all means, let us know what you think, because I would be very curious if I'm out in the sticks on this one. Because I could see a lot of people watch this and saying, this is garbage.
I would have watched a decade ago. I'd have watched this movie in 2 seconds.
Sure.
Yeah, I just don't have the time.
No, I understand that. But again, not 3 feet from me is a Blu-ray of the 80s film Street Trash, which is about hobos who drink tainted wine, melt, and at one point a severed penis is thrown around like a volleyball. So my estimation of films may vary from others. But
there's a possibility of that, yeah.
There is a possibility. But for $5, you can find out for yourself. And on that note, whatever you spend your money on, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.